Why the Gen 6 is the worst Glock yet. Okay, so what I've been asked a lot about is how did I even find one? So I actually hit up a few friends, a couple people that I know that can order from those sources, the distributors, and they're just sold out. So it's kind of luck of the draw. That's what at least what I've gathered from other people as well. Sports South, RSR, whoever can get one in, they're selling out almost immediately, as you would expect. I ended up calling my friend Chris at the range St. Louis West, and he told me to reach out to two other ranges. They didn't have them. One told me they could throw me on a list, but ultimately the list wasn't going to be helpful right now because I wanted one that day. Then he sent me a screenshot of another friend's page called Prime Protection. His name's Armand. And he had one Gen 6 17. That's all I wanted. I have a 45 Gen 5. I have a 19 Gen 5, but ultimately I wanted the 17 47 style gun. So we got that, and so far, pretty damn good. Okay, so what are the upgrades? What's the quality of life? You know, things like that. The serrations at the top are deeper. It's hard to actually see, especially I guess with my lighting, but they're about a millimeter difference, maybe even less from the top to the bottom. The bottom is definitely like any other MOS Glock that you've shot in the front, or really any Glock serrations on the rear. Feels the exact same except for the top. So if you're wearing gloves or anything like that, honestly, I think it's a worthwhile upgrade. It's honestly like a big improvement, especially because I rack here a lot. So for me, that's huge. The optic cut looks promising, but the plates itself, and if you've already seen them somewhere else, it's going to be no different. So this is the shim plate, if it'll focus for me, that goes into the slot on top of the Glock. Direct mount, which is nice. That's super cool. Historically, the OEM Glock plates haven't been great. Just from my experience, the biggest thing that I ran into, and I fixed it, there was, whenever you'd screw it down, it was a little bit loose, right? Because it wasn't screwed in. But because that plate isn't locking it in any capacity, whenever you slide it down in there and you're putting the screws in, it could offset a little bit. Now that doesn't impact how you can actually like zero the gun. Zero is just fine. Just me, I went back, made sure it was exactly centered and like tightened it ever so slightly each time just to make sure that was on there perfect. Otherwise, I know in my head it would just be, I wouldn't like it. Let's put it that way. I'm really curious to see how it holds up. I just used the standard screws that came with the Vortex for the Canic actually, because they're a little bit longer. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie Cox is the one that said that's what he did, and I actually like that they are slightly longer. That makes me feel better about it. I'm really excited to see what Arise has in store though, because they're going to have this plate and shroud system like they already have, the Aegis, and I can't wait to play with it. So, as far as everything else goes, the extractor is a lot different than previous generations. And I'll link a video down in the description, but typically you take off the back plate and then there's a little hole over there that pulls the plunger and everything out. In this case, there's actually, we'll just take it apart real quick. So there's actually that little dot, and then what you'll do is you'll take the Glock tool and you'll press down, you'll hear it click. What that'll allow you to do is press on the plunger right there, pull that out, and then this piece will come out, and then this, it won't focus, will slide forward. Very simple. I kind of like the design previously where you didn't necessarily have to have a tool, but this allows the screws to be deeper on the slide itself because it's not going into that channel. So Shadow Systems did something very similar, if I'm not mistaken, to where they actually, the mounting worked really well. But I really like this upgrade on a standard, standard Glock. The gun is ever so slightly taller. Now I have a TLR VIR2 on this, but I think it was like 64.4 millimeters or 64 and a half, somewhere around that with the TLR1. And then whenever I measured on my 19 and my 45 and everything else with the light, it was, what do we have on here? 63.7. So initially I thought we'd run into some holster issues. Luckily, that's not a huge difference. So Holster play hasn't been an issue at all. My US duty gear, my Kerber arms, any of my other kydex that I have, I have a Safari Land laying around here. Those all seem to work just fine. I do have the bigger optics window cuts and the Arise cuts on my US duty gear. So for any of my optic setups, I'm set there, which is really nice. Since Glock made the distance between without a backstrap, which, I mean, as you can see, the beaver tail's here now, rather than with the backstrap, I kind of like that because I always run a beaver tail anyways. But since this is technically shorter from previous generations, from the trigger to the back, I found that the large backstrap on the Gen 6 actually is what I have to run to make it feel more like my Gen 5 guns that have the medium backstrap. So no big deal there. It comes with them. So that's not an issue. And they're all textured the exact same as the new gun. So like, that's honestly great. The magwell, I don't know what it is. To me, it looks larger. Maybe that's just the cut on the outside. I'm not sure. But when I was trying to measure it, it ended up being almost the same, but negligible. I can't really, you know. There is an undercut on the trigger. So compared to previous generations, that wasn't standard. I'm a lefty, so this is going to be a little weird, but you can get your hand up there a lot more. I'm really a fan of that. The stippling and the thumb ledge are nice. I really, like, truly, I'm used to running grip tape on my current competition gun, but like, as far as carry goes and everything else, this feels phenomenal. I don't think it'll eat up too many shirts or your stomach. I haven't carried it enough to tell you that. The thumb ledge is nice. I typically don't ride the thumb ledge. I'm like right on the bottom of the slide, unfortunately, but that's just how my grip is. The trigger, which was supposed to be like a big change, right? It's nice. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus. There's the wall, break. And then as far as reset goes, there's the reset. So it's honestly not bad at all. It's gotten better as I've shot it, surprisingly. Or maybe I've just gotten used to it, but I still like the performance trigger. So here's my Gen 519, the performance trigger that Glock has, wall, break. Like, that's honestly pretty perfect. And then just to show you another one, performance trigger with the standard Koshu. There's the take up. Like, that's all it is. Break. Phenomenal. And then on my 34, the Timney trigger, this is probably my favorite trigger, especially for competitions. I definitely would not carry with this. But wall, and I do have the Johnny Glock's return spring on there just to help with kind of forcing it forward. But wall, boom, and it's light. It's super light, so it's hard to tell weight there. I couldn't get a trigger like weight calculator tool thing in time. I did function check to see if the Kagwerks Primidia will fit. It does. It functions. I haven't had any issues there. So I am going to order that because of how high my grip is. I actually end up holding slide release down, and that's on any Glock that I shoot. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. I could also just cut the right side off. I typically don't use it, but kind of a fun fact and something I just wanted to try here. So we have, and we'll do it on this Gen 6, or it's the Gen 6 slide. Fits on the Gen 5 frames, and it also fits on the Gen V frames. I haven't been able to live fire or test it, but dry fire, everything seems to function exactly as you'd expect. So I'm curious. I'm very curious. It doesn't. I wasn't surprised with the Gen V frames because the way the bottom of the slide looks pretty similar outside of the extractor, but I was excited to see that works. So later this week, whenever I get time to go to the range, I'm definitely going to try to shoot it, see what happens. Hopefully nothing bad. But yeah, while we have this off, Gen 3 recoil spring. So 19 length, because again, this is like across the board going to have more or less the same recoil spring, which has been great. Honestly, so far I'm so impressed. So impressed. Everything about this feels like a good quality of life upgrade across the board. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like a new generation. There are changes that I would say make it a new generation, like the extractor, them going back to a different recoil spring, like the cuts, I guess you could say it would, but like at the end of the day, this feels and shoots like all my other Glocks, to be honest. Other than 34, I think that's the best shooting Glock I own. I'm a little biased though because I do love that thing. But like at the end of the day, I would say it's a worthwhile upgrade, right? So rolling into that, as you saw in the thumbnail and the very start of this video, why is this the worst Glock ever? Because it makes literally every other stock Glock that they've ever released seem like a base model compared to like what this is. Like truly, like the grip, everything about it, it's like how it should have been. Personally, I feel like that's just this is how the gun should have been. Obviously, they're always like companies are always innovating things like that, but like at the end of the day, with how like this is older, this is Gen 3, but like with how just basic it feels, this just feels like a whole new breed of gun to me. That's for me, it feels great. Everything about it feels good in my hands. That's going to change for you. Like I recommend to everybody, go shoot one before you buy it. Go find a range that has one available to shoot at their like rental station, because you have to make sure you love it. It's kind of like a car. If you buy it and hate it, typically you're not going to get your money back. They're not usually good investments, but all the upgrades seem very specific. They seem very nice. They're all, again, to me, quality of life upgrades over the previous generations. The only thing we're going to have to wait on is the reliability. Because as you know, like people are going to say like, oh, well, the extractor design different from all previous generations. So what now? And the optics cut, is it going to fail? Things like that. And you don't know without time. So as far as that goes, I'm very happy. I'm very happy I was able to get one. It shoots really well. I feel like I shoot it pretty well. Especially just, you know, it shoots like any other Glock, honestly. A little bit snappier, but I feel like it feels very similar to my 45 and my 19. But at the end of the day, I still think if they made a 34 in the Gen 6, I would immediately run out and buy it, kind of like I did this 17. Considering we weren't supposed to have them for, what, 2.5 more weeks. So, stay safe, have fun. I'll throw up a few more videos of just us shooting the gun and how it recoils. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, please. Helps out a lot. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah.
All right, so 6 rounds, if it'll focus. We got the 17, Gen 6. .364, it's backwards, but not bad. I need to get faster on that draw.
That'll look good for the boys.
For the boys.
I got my face in. Oh.